Welcome to A Photographer's Life, the channel that takes you behind the curtain and into the world of professional architectural photography. Join us now for a discussion with members of the Association of Independent Architectural Photographers, America's premier architectural photography organization.
I want to welcome everyone to the March 2026 meeting for AIAP. We're going to talk about file management and metadata and file numbering and those kinds of things. And for those of you that are here, there's a PDF in the chat window if you want to open that up and take a look at that. And there's a number of things that we'll talk about today, and feel free to jump in with your own opinions. What I've put in that PDF is only the way I do things, and that's not necessarily the right way. It's just the way that works for me. So the reason I chose to use this topic today is because I've been getting questions on a weekly basis about file numbering and file management, and I thought maybe it was a good time to talk about this and see what everybody else is doing and what works and what doesn't, and maybe solve some problems for everybody that is in the organization who will listen to this later. So with that, let's jump off here. And first of all, I wanted to start out with just kind of like the very most basic thing that we can do, and that's setting up your camera so that it actually is going to number in a sequence, and that you have copyright information in there. I've bought several used bodies over the years, and I've never bought a body where someone has actually set up the copyright information ahead of time on that. So the copyright information is something you set up in the menu, but I've never purchased one used where the photographer previous to me has actually set up the copyright information. So that's always been kind of interesting to me. And so that's something in the menu that's easy to do. I mean, it's a little fiddly if you have to use those little thumb wheels and everything to find the menu for the alphabet and then set it up. And you have to change it every year with the date and everything. But at least that will give you some basic information embedded in your file structure as to who you are as the photographer, and that the image is copyrighted, and offer you at least some protection if you are in an infringement situation, or if somebody wants to find out whose image it is and, offer to pay you for it. And
it's
so
also a little more difficult to get rid of than IPTC.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a little more embedded.
Yeah. And so you can stick that information in there. I just make that an annual event for me. After the first of the year, I change that date on the bodies that I have and update that. One of the other things that you have in there is the option as to how you allow that body to number the files. And there's a few different options in there depending on what body you have, what manufacturer you have. I have always just used continuous numbering. And that's what works for me. And I'm happy to hear from anybody else who has a different opinion about that. But continuous numbering is what's always worked for me. I know there's some issues if you have that reset every time you start a new job or turn your camera on and off, and it resets numbering, you get just massive duplication of numbers. And if you're going to submit for registration with the Copyright Office and things like that, that's going to cause you just massive headaches. So I'd probably stay away from that. But anybody got some thoughts about numbering techniques as far as what your camera does as far as creating numbers?
Continuous.
Continuous? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Why do those things always run out at 10,000? They always reset. Why can't it be a longer number?
Well, I'd like to know that too. And if we had somebody here from Canon or Nikon or Sony.
Yeah, I think the newer Sonys go to 5 digits. The Sony I use the most goes to 10,000 and rolls over. But if you take that, I don't know, the way I do it, we do everything sequentially. So we'll add a prefix number so that like the right now we're on 1,209,297 frames. That's how many images we've shot in the last since we went digital. So they're absolutely sequential. So I can look at that number and I can tell you what year we shot it. But it makes it if you add a prefix and then we have a suffix after it too, depending on the project, it makes it really easy to find the files.
I'm a little different. I convert everything to DNG, and once I've done that, the first thing on the file is a name, a location, or the client or the project or something like that,
Okay.
followed by the date, which is going to be unique, and that's in the format of like 2026-03 20, which would be for today, and then 1, and then it goes from there. So I can always just by eyeball go into the files if it comes to that and just track down exactly what I'm looking for. And I can track it by name using any kind of spotlight, any kind of search at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that, Barry. That's good.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing I learned from the Seth Resnick. We were talking earlier about Seth Resnick. I did a
We're
workshop.
gonna have to pay him a royalty if you bring
In
his
workflow.
You do. Yeah, he probably got his license somehow. You mentioned his name, you have to pay him something.
Well, no, actually, Seth said you should put the date first, and I just found it didn't work for my brain.
No, not
You
for
know,
me.
I'm also
Well, I like that.
writing, so
Yeah.
numbers that make me
Yeah.
anxious. Yeah,
We're so inundated with the way we're doing it, I can't change now.
yeah, sure. Hey, if it works, it works.
So in the PDF, you'll see that I set things up by project name, like Barry mentioned. If you go down that PDF there, when I name mine, which is something that happens in the exporting process in Lightroom, I have a suffix, which is the project name. And for me, that's the easy way for me, so that I can find things by project, because I will typically have, if I need to find something, it's usually because I've got somebody contacting me about a project that they want to license at a later date, or that I need to find because it's been infringed. And so if I know the project name, then it's really easy for me to locate that, because I may or may not remember when in the world I ever shot it or something like that. So that's when that's how I do it. And then I keep that file number intact. And then I add a suffix, which is my last name, so that there's no confusion for my clientele or anybody who might be stealing my work as to whose image they're stealing. Or whose image it was that, who the photographer was that shot this originally. So I always stick my last name on there as a suffix to the file name. And that's the way I've been doing it for quite a number of years now.
Yeah, we when we do ours, we have client folders on our hard drives, and the client folders has a year and then a project, and then that's how we store them. So it's pretty easy to find almost anything.
Yeah, in my external drives, and we talked about this earlier about, we push everything to external drives. I do that once a year. I have my yearly archive that gets moved off of my desktop. It's being backed up continuously, but it gets moved off of my desktop computer permanently every year onto external drives, so that I don't have that storage taken up on my computer. But that way it's all in folders by client, and then within that, those project names pop up and they're easy to find. And certainly it's easy when I go to copyright registration, because those are all then unique names. And I never have any issues with copyright registration that way, as far as numbers or anything like that.
Has anyone used FileMaker?
Not for that. Yeah.
I'm all my clients are set up with a client number in FileMaker, and then job numbers are generated for every new job, and it's easy for me to find anything from the past. If I know, number one, who it was shot with, and from there I can easily find all the jobs that I may have shot for them. And I could find it then by subject title if I wanted to, or via job number. It really has worked out well. My daughter actually set it up for me about 23, 24 years ago, and I've been living with it ever since, and I could find anything back that far pretty easily. So that's what has worked well for me.
Yeah, the other thing that is important that you and I talked about a little bit, Alan, is filling out the metadata when you're processing the
Yeah.
work.
Yeah, I think now's a good time to jump into metadata and
So
why we
many
need to
people
do that.
don't.
And I know Barry, you teach that.
Yeah.
And maybe now'd be a good time to let you jump in and talk maybe a little bit about metadata. And honestly, that's one of the things that seems to be this big mystery for a lot of new photographers is metadata and why even fill it out. And so maybe you could address that just for a few minutes.
Well, I happen to have a slide right here. So let me just let me do a share and see if this
Sure.
works. This
Open
is
source is
well, I do all day workshops, and so I turn them into PDFs.
Yeah.
And so that's what this is. It's a PDF. So we'll just kind of slide through a few. Let's see, share, desktop. Okay,
If you get stuck, I can't help you.
that's all right. I can't help myself.
For me, anyway, I set up a preset every year in Lightroom. So I have, a 2026 preset right now where I fill out all the fields that I need to in metadata fields in Lightroom as a preset, with the exception of when I import a job, the only thing I need to fill out, if I click and open that preset, select the entire job in Lightroom, the only thing I need to fill out is the title and description for that job. Everything else then populates if I sync the metadata preset to all the images in that project.
Yeah, we do a similar thing.
Yeah, it saves an
Photoshop.
enormous amount of time,
Yeah.
and that way I make sure I've got everything filled out.
Yeah, you just change the year for copyright.
There's roughly two kinds of metadata. And we were talking about this earlier. There's the metadata that's in the camera. That's the ISO and the speed and the aperture and all that. But there's also the metadata you can put in that's pretty basic, like who are you? I put in a phone number and an email address and my name and a copyright notice.
Yeah.
So that's it. One of the reasons to use the metadata is for some clients down here at the bottom of the slide, they require this information, and we'll show you in a minute how that works. So yeah, this is what we were talking about. And then the bottom of the slide indicates all metadata can be stripped. So any photos you put up on social media, they strip out all the metadata.
Yeah.
We could spend a whole hour talking about why they do that, but there's not a good reason. Let's just leave it at that. It's a control issue.
It's not legal either.
What's that?
It's not legal either. I think you agree to that.
No, it is. It is because you sign a contract when you.
Yeah, you agree to it. Yeah,
you agree to it. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, we're not going to go there because it's a deep and very depressing hole.
Yeah.
So these are a bunch. And by the way, I can make a copy of all this and put it in the chat. People can have it. These are metadata resources of one kind or another. I will say that right in the middle is the Dam book by Peter Crow. Everything you'd ever want to know about. Yeah. He is the best. He is just the best. The Lightroom Queen guides, they're wonderful too for those of us that love Lightroom. And Michael Clark is an adventure and sports photographer. His stuff is great. It's just great. So this is a basic IPTC metadata. IPTC is an organization that kind of tries to coordinate all these kinds of things. This is basic for virtually any kind of professional photo software will have this. Photoshop or all of them will have a version of this. So you can set this up as a preset And so you were just talking about this, Alan, when I ingest photos into um, the computer right away before I've even converted them to DNGs, this information is embedded in the
Hmm.
file. And then I make sure it's still embedded when I export as a DNG, because that's really what I work with. So I filled out more here than I normally would just to show that you can, but um, the basics is it would be this IPTC creator right here.
Hmm.
That's the basic stuff.
Yeah.
So that has your address, how to get a hold of you. I put multiple email addresses.
Hmm.
I used to have more than one phone number. I'd put those in there, multiple websites. So you don't want to give anybody a chance to not say we couldn't find you.
Yeah.
And I think you mentioned this too, Alan, that I had a client that an architecture client, they completely changed their marketing people and they wanted to use some of my photos, wanted to license some photos.
Hmm.
So the new people just went into the file and found my information because they'd lost the
Exactly. Yeah.
contracts and everything. So they were able to get a hold of me.
Yeah, and anybody that's savvy, in an ad agency or a legitimate image user, they know how to do this, and they
Oh
can find you
yeah.
pretty easily.
Yeah. It's particularly, and for editorial,
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
really critical. In editorial, here, let me go to the next one. So editorial, you can put even more information in here, including, by the way,
Right.
notice video.
Well,
Um,
and you also got you can put information about releases and things like that in
oh
here,
yeah.
which is sometimes that's really important. I know I had the New York Times got in touch with me about a project just recently that I had done years ago, but because of the metadata, they were able to track me down pretty quickly,
Yeah.
and
Well,
that was really useful.
it's really nice. And I also want to point out here on the very lower right, this here,
Yeah.
keywords. Keywords are great for everybody, but particularly for me. When was that volcano in Los Angeles? Been watching too many movies. Uh, but yeah, it is for everybody. It kind of keeps it all kind of honest. And also, if you ever are in a situation where there's a dispute and the metadata was originally in the file and they stripped it out, you
Yeah.
could prove the metadata was in the file because you have the original.
Hmm.
This is not something I've really run into, but as a paranoid person, I find it makes me feel better. Also, like you were saying, you can put in there were model releases and so forth. When I was even more
Right.
paranoid than I am now, I used to put entire contracts into this. So
Yeah.
you can really jam a lot of information in fairly
One of the
easily.
reasons Barry's files don't load so quickly.
Yeah, maybe that's why I stopped doing it.
No, I've used this for property releases in situations that it was important to do that. And
Oh yeah.
if you do have a dispute, the fact that they have stripped that metadata out becomes an aggravating circumstance in court. So
Yeah.
that's another point, makes it important.
So one of the nice things about Lightroom, and you can certainly do this other ways, and you can even do it without using any photo software at all, is when you ingest, uh, you get to do this. You can make two copies at once. So you automatically have two copies and they're checksummed. So they're accurate. Um, you can rename the files. That's what I do. You can add a develop preset, which can save you a lot of time if you're in a hurry. Um, you can convert to DNG, which is actually not something I do at first. I just do my selections on whatever the file is, and then I convert to DNG. That's another kind of discussion. And you can stick the keywords in. And then when it comes time to export, it's kind of the reverse. You can do multiple ones at the same time in Lightroom, and that's just a time saver. These are just this isn't strictly speaking metadata, but there you kind of have to know how to deliver
Yeah.
and all of that. So this all goes into it because really this is part of the service that a client either expects or hopefully learns to expect and love us for and then hire us again because we've made their life so easy. And I, for instance, always deliver in two formats: a full size JPEG, 300 PPI ready for printing, and then one for the web. Um, in sRGB because that's the only thing that works on the web.
Yeah.
So those kinds of things are important to know about delivery. We don't have to get into color spaces, but this is part of what goes into the metadata, is at least knowing that. It doesn't have anything particularly to do with delivery.
And in
color.
that export window that you got in Lightroom, all of this stuff is really easily accessible, and you can export so easily in these different spaces and file structures.
And I've been taught forever, don't screw around with CMYK unless you're a printer. You don't need to worry about it anymore. Send them a good file, they'll know what to do.
Every once in a while, you will get an ad agency that requests CMYK files.
Oh my God.
We get that all the time.
Oh, do you?
Oh, yeah.
What do you do?
Send them
change the
CMYK
color.
and Adobe
CMYK,
RGB.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. I never, God, I wouldn't know how to do it.
And then we add CMYK to the suffix of the file so they know that it's CMYK.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. I get that from big agencies, some of the big ones. They will ask for that all the time.
So because color management is part of this, we don't really want to spend very much time on this, but this is a fairly typical thing you get from a color management company or somewhere, and you print this out in a specific way, and then they put a spectrometer over it to see how accurate your colors are, and that can be really important for delivery. That's another one, what they look like. So for printing, anything that Mac Holbert says goes. We're now on the outer edges now of what we were originally talking about. So let's get out of this, because I like to dominate, but sometimes it feels rude.
No, just jumping back to the metadata situation there, though, I don't think you can put too much information in there ever. We tend to kind of economize sometimes with metadata, and my experience has been that the more I put in there, the better off I am in the long run when it comes to any situation where image ownership is challenged or anything like that. If I have to litigate, I want to make sure that I've got everything buttoned up as tight as possible on metadata. Even if it gets stripped out, I can present what the original, because I will inevitably, my attorney and opposing counsel is going to ask for the original file, and they're going to want to examine the metadata on it. So just saying. And then, like I mentioned before, people do use that to find you. If they've ended up with an image and they need to find out, who to license it with, that's the easiest way for them to do that, is just to open the metadata on it.
And also, sometimes you end up with, I don't know, personal work or even personal work that you took on the job.
Yeah.
And putting those keywords in the metadata in there allows you to find things that you didn't put in a normal place. I've got a whole section in my folders of personal work.
Mm-hmm.
And I just keep shoving stuff in there. And it's nice to be able to find it in less than an hour or two.
It takes all the fun out of it, Barry.
Well, fun's overrated, man.
Yeah. I do all those things. I don't use Lightroom. I use Photoshop.
Yeah.
But they have all the same services and
it's the same stuff.
Yeah. And while the metadata can be wiped pretty clearly, I think Alan mentioned this. You set your camera up with copyright. That's a little harder to take out of the file.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why, but it's harder to remove. Sometimes that little artifact will carry through the file through multiple changes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There is software you can get that'll strip it, but I haven't found a reason to do it myself.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure you can do anything.
And there are some of the websites, like you say, that by posting your stuff there, and I don't want to mention any of them by name, but we all know who they are.
Oh, I don't think you're in any legal danger.
Well,
I'll mention them.
Okay, yeah.
It's
Let's go then.
It's Facebook and Instagram.
And one of the ones we run into most often is House.
House. Oh,
House. Oh yeah.
That's one that hurts a lot of us the most is we see our stuff stuck there. And then, I mean, I have cases all the time where somebody will post a project on House and then people will find those images and right click and download them and then stick them on their website all over the world. And
one of the user agreements with House, Alan, is when you upload, you give them the right to the image. You claim that you own the rights and you're granting it to them to use it in any way they want.
In perpetuity.
In perpetuity, that's correct. So, and it's difficult to litigate that.
Yeah, it is. House is pretty much insulated from that. There's a couple other there's a few other websites that are not as well protected right now that there's some attorneys going after, and we'll talk about that probably offline.
Yeah. Well, and the thing about House is their business model, which is now extended over to Dwell online too, is what they want to do is make affiliate sales from what's in the picture.
Exactly.
So House from the beginning asked you to tag that dishwasher, that faucet, that
everything
light,
you
light
can think
fixture.
of.
Yeah. And so that's where their money is. Their money is not in referring people to homeowners.
Right.
It's to sell product or sell the metadata for the product so that they can get an affiliate sale, affiliate money. And there's nothing you can do about it. I removed all my photos from House just for that reason. I think you can't always stop clients from doing it because they don't always even tell you. But when I recently did a job that Dwell licensed for not very much money only for online existing photos. And when I went to look at it, I was horrified that they encourage you to download the photos.
Right.
And I went, whoa. So
I had a client, I did a full shot probably 10 years ago, a dusk full shot, beautiful picture. And the builder loaded it up on House. And a few years ago, he sends me an email. And he sends me a screenshot of his House page that picture had been downloaded 180,000 times.
Oh,
I'm like,
yeah.
I have that.
Show me the money.
I need to print that out and frame it. I'm like, oh, that's great. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Does anyone put it in their contract to protect yourself that your client says your client cannot put it on House to warn them?
I don't have that singled out.
I don't either.
Pretty
I
much
don't have that
all
as a
media
stipulation. Yeah.
Is that a protection?
If you could enforce it,
Yeah.
it'd be tough because a lot of our clients will inevitably put a project up on their website, and the homeowner of that project will just screenshot it, and they'll load that to House. So it's really difficult to police that.
I think it's also a matter of if somebody's making money off your photo, that's one thing.
Yeah, that's true.
And yes, House does make money off your photo, but not directly. So it's like you got to pick your battles. And Alan and Norman, you can speak to that because, through Pixie and all the rest.
And even then you have to pick your battles.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because you can destroy your business overnight if you choose to.
You can. Yes. Yeah.
Well,
that's another topic we can do.
Oh yeah, there you go. How to destroy your business overnight?
Yeah,
or 2 weeks.
You how to retire like that? Yeah.
So because I think there's going to be people listening to this that are emerging photographers. I just want to say something a very basic bit of organization is folder structure.
Okay.
And the nice thing about Lightroom, even for those people that don't like Lightroom, is it completely can correspond to your actual folder structure. So
right.
It's a duplicate. And, my folder structure is really so simple. It's I got one that's architecture. Underneath that is landscape architecture, commercial, institutional, all those kinds of things. And inside of that, that's where those jobs live.
Mm-hmm.
And they're named. The folders are named for what they are, so it makes it extremely easy to find things.
Yeah. Are you a sponsor for Lightroom, Barry? I'm just wondering.
You know,
I've never
I
heard
know
somebody
this.
mention Lightroom so many times in a
Oh,
sentence. I mean,
it's such
I
a
know
good
this.
tool, though. I know you don't
This
like
is
it, Norman,
shocking. I
but
know.
Lightroom
for
is
most
for
of
babies.
us, it's just such a lifesaver.
It's
Norman, I don't
terrible.
know how to break this to you, but Lightroom is probably the most popular and most widely used photo program in the entire
And do I
known
look like I
universe,
care?
including Pluto and Mercury.
Yeah,
No, it probably is. Yeah, we don't use it. I don't
Yeah.
even think I have it in my.
I don't know how I do business without it, honestly. It's
It's
just been a
so
lifesaver for me.
Photoshop I can't function without, but Lightroom I
um,
don't.
well, it's got a lot of the same tools. It just keeps it
Yeah.
all in the same spot.
Yeah, it's
I
such
do
an
80.
organizationally, it's just such a huge asset for me and keeping
Yeah.
everything organized. And I can find everything. I can go back years and years in Lightroom and find stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
I do 80% of my processing, even for architecture. And
Barry
sometimes,
Bell's picking
Yeah.
on me.
yeah, it's fast.
You
Yeah.
use Lightroom? You use Lightroom? Really? Wow.
there's so much that I
You have
do
a
in Lightroom
spy.
now.
It's like
You have a spy in your office, Norman.
E.T. Brute. I mean, go on, really? You use Lightroom?
I only do just the very end processing in Photoshop anymore.
Yeah, me too.
The bulk of it's done in Lightroom. So
Yeah, the Lightroom processing has gotten better, but there's still things that are just so much easier to do in Photoshop, like
right.
removing spots,
Mhm.
or if you're doing any generative AI, it just seems to work a little better for, yeah.
But the big corrections, they're just so much easier to do, especially if you've got global corrections you need to do on a job.
Yeah.
It's just so fast to get it done.
Yeah, see, I don't do anything like that. I can see that. Like with batch processing, a lot of people talk about how.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't do any batch processing, so.
Well,
But I hear that's a lot of photographers I talk to, they batch process an entire job, and we don't do any of that. We do them all individually. So
you can also spit out websites, one job websites, just a page with some file numbers on them for clients.
I do. I use it for contact sheets all the time.
Yeah.
You can do that in Photoshop, contact sheets. So
it's much easier in Lightroom.
Yeah, it's way easier.
I don't doubt it at all. I do everything the hard way. I'm here to tell you.
I'll give you a list.
Well, I do other things the hard way, Norman. Don't feel, like you're privileged in that.
You can also do a YouTube video of with your images in Lightroom.
Why does Norman do everything the hard way?
Maybe. Hey, Alan, here's a future topic for you: how to do things the hard way, and everybody can.
And Norman can host
and
that.
I could have that up. I got slides.
Let's go back. Let me just jump back here really quickly. I just wanted to go back. You mentioned in your metadata slide that you had there, you talked about the way that people can contact you, and you had website and telephone number and email and all those things. And I find that a lot of photographers are missing that. When I've talked to them, that's just something that nobody seems to want to put in or even thinks is possible to put in. And that's something that it just seems like it's such a no-brainer to include all that information as much as possible. I mean, you can put your street address if you want to, your mailing address, and I mean, you can put your favorite vegetables in there. It's just on and on and on. You could put everything you wanted to if you wanted. There's so much room in that metadata information for things that you can just cram that full of stuff if you want. And all of that is just going to be important information for people to find you. and also to support any kind of, action if you have an infringement later on.
Oftentimes when someone is trying to use your image and they'll open it up and fill their own, wipe your metadata out, put the other one in. A lot of times the raw data stays behind, and that raw data is critical because that is the same as your original file.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, take the time and fill out all the pages of the metadata, because chances are the people gleaning your product or stealing your product, they're not going to go through that. They're going to get to the basic file or the basic folder and change that information, and the rest of it to leave behind. The camera data is just imperative that you have that set up.
I wanted to bring up one thing that I just got a text about finding who's using your images online. An easy way for those that are not on Pixie, and using stuff like that. I'm just going to add my add this
Thanks,
podcast
Barry.
PDF. There's an easy way to use to find your images online and who's using them and where they're showing up, using Google Lens. I don't know if people are using that at all. If you'll just take your, you can just drag your image from Lightroom. Just hold that and drag it into Google Chrome, and it will open up as a window or a tab on on Google Chrome, and then just right click that and go to search with Google Lens. And what will happen is it will then bring that image up in all the returns. There'll be a little window on the side, that matches that it has, and then go to exact matches, and it will show you all the exact matches of that image online. Google will find those for you as to who's using that image.
Yeah, I didn't know
I think it's important to note that it's important to have a glass of liquor right next to you when you do that and calm you down.
I recommend
and some phenobarbital.
small glass of bourbon.
But this is this is a really simple reverse image search that Google has right now. And I mean, you just need to get the image into into a tab on Google Chrome, and then use that right click to enable search with Google Lens, and then it will find those matches, and then and then go to the exact matches, and that will bring up all of those, and you can find out who's using your image and where. And it'll, if you've done this already, you'll see in the title, if you hold on that, you can copy the web page address, and if you hold on the image, the thumbnail that it's next to it, you can copy the image address.
So Alan, could you do that again? I just pulled an image into Google Chrome.
Yeah.
I got a tab. Now, how do I do that?
Now right click on that image and hold it down, and it should bring up a little window that says search with Google Lens.
My goodness.
And then it should bring up a window on the right.
Oh.
And then it should have
Lowe's is using my image. Home Depot. Oh my!
Surprise!
Oh wow!
And there'll be a tab that says all, one that says exact matches, one that says visual matches. If you really want to find the infringements that are going to stick, you probably are going to have to look at exact matches.
All right, everybody needs to do that.
So
everybody.
Now I've been doing this independent of Pixie, and I don't care if Pixie knows that or not, but and then
I had no idea.
But I found out that the fact that I've been litigating image infringements for several years now. There's a core group of images that seem to be the popular infringements. And so every few months or every few weeks, I will go through and just kind of see who's using these images now, and then send demand letters. And that's an easy way to do it. And it doesn't, I just send an invoice by searching on Google Lens, and it brings up, and I can, then I send that allows me to send them an evidence page, showing, and you want to screenshot everything that you do there, so you at least have an evidence page if you do need to get legal with people. So you've got the image address, and the website address, the page address, and the image address as to where that's being used. Because if you do need to turn that over to an attorney, they're going to need to have that evidence as well. But this is a really easy one.
So I still never was not able to find the PDF that you mentioned. Could you slide it back into the chat? And I uploaded the few slides that I had.
Yeah,
oh, great. Thank you.
Just put that in there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Well, this takes away all the free time I thought I had.
I'm sorry. But
how can you not search everything on? Oh my God.
See, I just had I had somebody send me a link day before yesterday of a bowling center that I had shot over 20 years ago, and said, "Is this your image?" And I thought, yeah, that's my image. And then I thought, well, maybe I should search that entire job. Well, so it was only like, I don't know, 20 images. So I searched the job. It's being used all over the world. The bowling center's been closed for 10 years.
Yeah, wow. But they love the picture.
But the images are being used by, an audiovisual company in California, a bowling center in Wales. It's just
in Wales.
It's just a Jewish community center in Michigan. It's just they're everywhere. And I found them by just using Google Lens.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this another picture here.
So I'm sorry to bring this up, but I just thought
no, it's really good. This is almost entertaining here. So go to the picture, right click.
But this doesn't cost you anything. So I thought,
no, it doesn't.
Yeah, I had somebody ask me about this and just texted me as a reminder, and I thought, okay, I'll bring it up in this meeting. So
oh wow. So there's a car wash I shot 4 years ago. It's a dust shot. It's probably the prettiest car wash on the planet. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's all over the place. The Gospel Coalition is using my picture.
Now you'll find
changing lives through washing cars. It's my picture.
Wow.
Oh, I'm going to change your life in a minute here. Oh my goodness. Alan, this is wonderful.
I get a lot of returns like on Pinterest, and those are difficult, if not impossible, to pursue.
Yeah.
Changing lives through washing cars. Here we go.
And there's other things like that are pretty tough to pursue, but the commercial usages, those are easy ones when you find those, and they seem to pop up really easily. So anyway, thought I'd share that as a little gift to start the weekend out for you. Because I know that the companies that do reverse image search for you, they charge you money for that. I also understand that Google's AI Gemini will, if you will ask it to find all the commercial usages and supply you with the URLs for a certain image, it'll do that as well.
No kidding.
I did that for a case recently that we were trying to go to a settlement conference on. And I wanted to be prepared. And going into the settlement conference, I think we had 35 infringements documented, and Jim and I found 41 new ones ahead of the settlement conference. So it more than doubled what the settlement amount was for the case. So that was a big boost, and it didn't cost me anything. So nor did it cost the attorney any time. So that was great.
That's impressive.
So my guess, not that it necessarily would make a difference in your particular situation right now, is if you throw an image into Google, they're going to use it to train their AI.
I suspect. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it doesn't mean they're going to duplicate it or license it. It just goes into the pile, but they've already done it anyway.
So thanks. You guys are cheering me up.
Yeah. Well, hey, this is something you have no control over anyway. I mean, all the images are being scanned. All the words are being scanned.
It's all content that's there anyway.
Yeah. So the Europeans are figuring out ways to begin to, but we're at the early days of figuring out not how to keep AI companies from doing it, but how to dig a little money out of them for doing it. And, it's important to note that, particularly say in advertising contracts with photographers and agencies specified that none of the images either can be used for AI, but that you can't use AI when you do your deliverables, because they're worried that there's copyright infringement embedded in the work that you supply to them.
Yeah, I've seen that in the new contracts that I've gotten for new editorial contracts. They all have that in there.
Yeah.
And the YouTube contract is the same way now. When you upload a YouTube video,
is that right?
Yeah.
So that you can't incorporate any AI.
You have to. Well, you have to tell them whether or not there's AI generated imagery in there or content. If you check the box, I'm not sure if that brings up another menu or not. I've never checked the box, so it didn't matter. But I know that in the contracts that I've been receiving, probably over the last 8 months, editorial contracts, they've all stipulated that, I warrant that there's no AI generated imagery in the deliverables.
Well, and that's just a slightly more extreme version of, particularly for editorial. I mean, the New York Times, you couldn't use a tilt-shift lens until a few years ago.
Yeah, right.
Now you can even, fix it in Lightroom or Photoshop. But their rules are pretty simple. Basic photojournalistic rules are: you can crop, you can color correct, you can contrast correct. That's it. Can't take anything out, and you can't put anything in.
Right.
So it's pretty basic, and if they're worried, they'll ask to see your RAWs, which is perfectly reasonable.
Yeah. Well, everyone, thank you for joining in this conversation. I think this has been really useful. This is simple information and a simple process, but theoretically, but in practice, it can get kind of convoluted sometimes. And if you don't do it right, it can be a real mess. I know that when I was trying to resolve duplications for a copyright registration process that I was going through, it was days of agony to resolve those duplications.
My eye twitching, if you're wondering.
Yeah, it was not a fun process. So, I'm speaking from experience that you want to get this right the first time. So, this is an important thing. Thanks to everybody that's contributed. Thank you, Barry, for your slides. Those were really useful.
Thank you, Barry. Thank you, Alan.
Making those available to everyone. We'll once we stop the recording, we'll have a little time to chat on the back side of the recording here. But thanks, and we look forward to joining you next month with a new topic. So until then, everyone take care.
This has been another episode of A Photographer's Life. If you've enjoyed this program, please let us know by liking this episode and subscribing to this channel. A Photographer's Life is brought to you by the Association of Independent Architectural Photographers. This episode is copyrighted, and may not be used in full or in part, without the written permission of the AIAP. Please join us again soon for another inside look at the world of professional architectural photography.